What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka The Geek from DFS Army. NFL Week 12 is in the books, and today we have a really special breakdown as we're taking a look at DFS Army member Sliderss' incredible 100K second place finish in the DraftKings Millie Maker for Week 12. Let's do this. All right, I got an awesome message in my DMs this morning, just opening up the old Discord where my man Bengal Tigers, aka Sliderss, hits me up and says, yo, second place, barely lost the Millie Maker by 0.08. Second place, 100K winner. Suck it, Awesemo. Put you in third. Now, as far as this lineup goes, what I want to do is have a little fun. We're going to take a look at what Sliderss did to achieve this lineup. He did use the DFS Army Domination Station Optimizer for another awesome finish. I also want to mention, of course, Scotty Newman taking down the early slate on FanDuel once again for the fifth or sixth time this season. I don't even know anymore, but Scotty Newman props on that takedown as well. Lots of takedowns this week and a lot of great plays. And this was a really, really interesting slate. So I'm excited to jump into it. I've got the Domination Station Optimizer open in backtest mode. And this is how we like to do it. So I'm going to try to replicate that lineup. But first, we're going to take a look at what Sliderss did to achieve that second place lineup. So let's go over here to the contest dashboard, and we're going to take a look at the Millie Maker for DraftKings Week 12. And of course, the actual winner was Get Me Some Sleep with a one-off. Congrats to him. An interesting one-off as it had Kyler Murray stacked with James Conner, which is just a really weird combo, but more power to him. You absolutely needed Josh Jacobs this week if you wanted to be in the conversation. And a couple of other I don't know, low-owned guys. Chris Godwin finally low-owned. Zay Jones low-owned. Garrett Wilson, we're all over him this week. Traylon Burks all over him this week. And, of course, Josh Jacobs was the guy we needed. But we're talking to Sliderss. So a couple things I want to do is take a look at Sliderss. Here's the lineup that he used to take down second place. And this is a Herbert +1 stack. So you've got just Herbert with DeAndre Carter, which QB +1. Again, really interesting stack here. In this lineup as well, you've got sort of a secondary stack here with Samaje Perine and T. Higgins. So RB and WR from same team. Chris Godwin was somebody that Bengals actually told me he raised the projection on because he liked Chris Godwin a lot and he'd been getting lots of targets. So Chris Godwin was somebody that in his exposures, and we'll take a look at the user exposures here in a minute. And of course, Carolina defense, just random defense there. Didn't help or hurt anything. Let's see here. DeAndre Carter, really a 2% own. That really is a wild combination, but I do think that he got there just having when you're stacking Herbert with one, it would just generally come up at some point. Probably some limitations on some of the players. So let's take a look at Sliderss' exposures for this contest as well. So I want to get a sense of his total exposures on this one, and I'm going to sort by high, most to least. So here you could see that even with 81.3% exposure to Jeff Wilson Jr., who was an incredible play, obviously. And by the way, anybody who's ripping that play is probably a fucking moron. He was a great play, just didn't work out. The only negative about him was he was going to be very, very chalky at 54%. And one of the things we've talked about many times, especially in my leveraging ownership against the field video, is that anytime somebody's going to be, no matter how good of a play it is, if you're in a massive contest and somebody's going to be 40 to 50% owned, it's probably best just to fully fade that person more often than not. Even if you take a look at my leveraging ownership coin flip video, it's really, really descriptive of why that is the case. Now, I'm just going to look at Sliderss' leverage against the field here to see where he went above the field. And like I said, even with Keenan Allen above the field and Garrett Wilson, who the Dom station was kicking out like crazy, Carolina defense, Samaje Perine was another one. He definitely pushed the Godwin ownership, and that was definitely helpful here. Hayden Hurst, solid play at tight end this week. Just looking at these leverage plays to see if there's any other spots where leverage really helped. Well, Mike White, of course, but that didn't affect this particular lineup. So again, we'll go back to lineups and we'll take a look at this one. And then we're going to go over to the Dom Station, try to recreate it. Again, Sliderss used the Domination Station Optimizer to create this lineup. And like I said, I can see here that this is a QB +1. So I'm going to take a look at some of his other lineups here. And I can see that he did primarily, here's Brady with Godwin. So these are primarily QB +1 lineups. Geno, looks like Geno +2. Mike White only with 1. Justin Herbert again with 1. DeAndre Carter. Trevor Lawrence with just 1. So I'm just looking through these lineups to see his general approach. Looks like Mike White here has a +2. Trevor Lawrence with 1. Zay Jones. I love that. Trevor Lawrence with 1. Zay Jones. Herbert again with 1. So we can see here that for the most part, it looks like Sliderss used a QB +1 stack approach. Here's Kyler Murray with just 1. I'm going to take a look here and see if these are game stacks or team stacks as well. I just want to get a sense of what he did to see if we can replicate it using the optimal 100K winner. Oh my gosh. Awesome. Congrats, by the way, to Sliderss Bengal Tiger for taking this bad boy down. Incredible. So in these stacks, it looks like, do we have a bring back? Yes, we got Connor in this one. So we do have a game stack here. Game stack there. Yes, game stack as well. So Smith, Las Vegas. So I am seeing that game stacks were used for some, but not all, right? Mike White, there's no game stack here with Mike White. Herbert, though, Arizona, no bring back from Arizona. So with Herbert, there is no locked in game stack, even though this first one happened to get an Arizona player in it. Does not appear that was locked into at least all of his lineups. Could have used correlation stacking here and made a few different stack types for each one. Let's see, Herbert, Arizona. Yeah, no Arizona bring back on that lineup. Here is Vegas, Seattle, Geno, Seattle. Yeah, Geno with 2. But no Raiders. So where's the... Oh, yeah, there's the Raiders. So there's your game stack there. Mike White, no game stack. At least not the Jets game stack. Herbert, that does stack. Lawrence, let's see here. Baltimore, no pieces from Baltimore. No. So mostly team. These look like mostly team stacks to me. Trevor, again, with Baltimore. No. Yeah, Mark Andrews. Oh, yeah. There we go. That is a game stack as well. Herbert, Carter, Hopkins. So from what I'm seeing, the Herbert lineups are stack QB +1 with 1 bring back. And that seems to be the primary approach that Sliderss used. So that's the approach that we're going to use today. And again, it's late in the season, and I just think this is a fun way to attack these Millie Maker reviews. Let's see if we could replicate it, especially since that lineup was created using the DFS Army Domination Station Optimizer. So love it. Love to see the optimizer proving itself over and over again. We've already got a Millie Maker takedown. We've got countless takedowns of afternoon, morning slates, just countless tournament wins using the Domination Station Optimizer mass multi-entry. I fully believe this is the best optimizer in the industry. I have no doubt. So, and it's proven again and again with all the wins and the takedowns. No one competes with us. So getting back into this, what was the last thing I wanted to see? Oh, yeah. The final score of the winning lineup here. We've got a 227, actually took down the tournament. And then, of course, Sliderss was right up there with a 225.36. So let's get into this. All right. So I've opened up the Domination Station, and we've seen the type of stack that was used primarily was a QB with no less than 1 of wide receiver, tight end, same team, and then with no less than 1 of wide receiver, tight end, running back, opposing team, right? So that's our basic. We know this week that we zeroed out tight end in the flex. This was not a tight end in the flex week, so I will do that. I'm going to set the standard settings that we have that we've back tested over the years as the ideal settings for the Domination Station Optimizer. The only thing I want to take a look at here real quick is the combined ownership here. And let's get a look here at 103 and Sliderss 100. And we've said for the Domination Station that the ideal projected ownership cap is between 100 and 110. So I'm going to go with 110 for this one. Interestingly, we probably should have been down even lower, but no one projected Jeff Wilson Jr., for example, to be 50% owned in a Millie Maker. That is an insane amount of ownership for any player. I'm going to make sure we reset our settings. Actually, I already did that earlier. I just want to make sure I don't have any settings set. Yeah, I was just testing something before. So for the most part, these are the generic settings. These are the generic projections that the Domination Station closed before lock with. So we're going to start there. Now, what I'm going to do, I've set that primary stack. I'm going to just do a regular run here of the Dom Station using the rules we've established for attacking mass multi-entry, the standard set of rules, which is 30% max exposure across running back and wide receiver and tight end. I like to go 25% at defense and 20% at quarterback. So the first thing I'm going to do is just give this thing a generic run. Basic options here. QB with no less than 1, QB with no less than 1. I want to see where we end up. And with 110 with a 110% ownership cap. So that might be running. Yeah, that's going to go a little slow for me here. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of randomization to speed this up for the power of live. Yeah, I'm going to go a little quicker. The more randomization you add, the faster it kind of goes. So I'm going to go to about 10% here just to make this run quickly. Now, normally, if I want to really, when I'm running this, I will have set exposures on the quarterback position. Or a lot of times when I've done these reviews and I try to do them in real time, what I've done is just pretty much focus on the quarterbacks that wound up in the perfect lineups. So I am going to do that after this first run, but I like to give it a first run to see just what would have happened if you essentially did nothing but use the basic set of rules that we kind of have back tested to be the most effective for taking down Millie Makers, and kind of see what happens with that. And again, 110% ownership cap, 3 unique players, zero out the tight end. A lot of times I zero out running back on DraftKings as well, because it's much, much better to use wide receivers in the flex more often than not. And I might try that for the next run, where we just push the wide receiver position into the flex, which again, wide receivers do tend to outscore running backs, unless you're Josh Jacobs going crazy yesterday, but they do tend to outscore them. So in this run, I'm going to kind of leave the running backs in there. I want to see how that one goes. We can do another run in a minute without them. Here we go. We've got our 150. And the first thing I'm going to do is sort by final fantasy points. So using the DFS Army Domination Station backtest mode, you can sort by final fantasy points and kind of see what exactly would have happened if you just ran this thing and let it rip, so to speak. So first thing I noticed is we hit a 203. And again, this is just the most generic basic. I did no work. I just set a QB plus 1 opposing. So a little double stack, a little stack with a bring back. Basic, set some max limits, and we hit a 203.62 here on our best lineup, 201, 200, 199, 199. So we're hanging out in a high scoring zone here. And again, let's just jump over to this contest and see what that type of score would have given us. Ooh, I'm going to look at it using DraftKings. So I'm going to actually pull up DraftKings in the meantime and go back to that contest and kind of see what the scores were, because I don't think this shows us the score. Yeah, 227. So let's see what a 200. So I mean, let me tell you something. This is pretty fucking impressive. All right. So on my first run of the Dom station, I did nothing but set. I've adjusted no player exposures whatsoever. Nothing. All we did was set a couple of max limits, our standard set of rules that we came up with preseason in our back testing, generic run. And we hit a 203, which was good for, looks like, let's see here. $209. Yeah, right up there. 207, 203. So looks like this was good for about a $2,000 win, about 22nd place. Yeah, 207 was 12th place. So I mean, we got multiple top 100 lineups in this first run. Again, a 203.62. Looks like here a 203.62, or there's a 92, a 203.92 got you about $2,000. So maybe 23rd place in the Millie Maker. First run, no adjustments. Now let's take a look at the exposures we got and see what maybe could have been adjusted here to do a little bit better. So looks like at the running back position, kind of got a lot of exposure to all of our favorites. Josh Jacobs, Kenny Walker, Samaje, Michael Carter loaded up. Rashad White, I don't understand why he's not popping more into these lineups. I simply don't get it. David Montgomery was off the list this week. So I think we can make a few little adjustments here based on what actually happened in the slate. So we got a little Zay Jones in there too. Did I get any DeAndre Carter? Let's see what the top lineup looks like. It's funny. It's a Geno Smith lineup. So with Noah Fant and Josh Jacobs on the bringback. Okay. I don't mind that. Tight end. A lot of Hayden Hurst. Didn't love Hayden Hurst this week, but there he is. Dulcich. Did not love any of these tight ends here, but look, it all somehow comes together in an interesting way. So what I want to do from here is actually make a few adjustments based on my calls for this week and some of the players that I was a little higher on. And the way I adjust the domination station is I always start by sorting by fantasy points per dollar, right, on each position group. And this will allow us to know which players will just naturally pop into lineups if we don't screw around too much. Now, it's a little bit less at quarterback than other spots. But, for example, I did not actually love Geno Smith this week, so I'm going to put a down like on him. I did like Mike White, so I want to give him a love. Justin Herbert obviously was part of this winning lineup, and he was one of my core plays. So was Joe Burrow. So I'm going to put a like on him. Did not like Brady very much. Loved Kyler Murray. We're going to give him some love as well. Give a like on that. And again, all I'm doing is slightly adjusting the player pool here to make sure that I get exposure to the quarterbacks that before the slate I actually was on. So these are the names from my cheat sheet. These are the names that I was on this week. So I'm just going to make a little adjustment there, right? Now, the other adjustment I'm going to make is what Bengals Tiger told me he did, which was he particularly liked Godwin. And so he adjusted his projection higher than it was initially. Simple as that. He loved Godwin this week. So he adjusted Godwin higher. Godwin absolutely smashed. So we're just going to make that one little adjustment here. Tight end position, Hayden Hurst. We got so much Hayden Hurst. Okay. You know what? At some point, sometimes you got to let it ride. And of course, Jets and Chiefs defense were my favorite, with Chiefs defense being sort of the ultimate this week. So I'm going to raise them up just a little bit. Chiefs defense was such a good play. I did this in my own run as well, which I can show you later on if you'd like. But the other thing I'm going to do on this next run is reduce running back down to 50%, and disallow more than one pass catcher from any team unless the QB from that team is being used in the lineup. So with that being said, let's give this bad boy another run. And all we really did just now, slight adjustments to the QBs. I don't know how much that's going to change, but primarily it was give a like to Godwin, which is exactly what Bengals Tiger Sliderss said that he did. And then also adjust my flex position to the DraftKings rules, which is that you don't want a ton of running back in the flex. You really want wide receivers there more often than not. This week, again, I made an exception myself because the running back position was such a value compared to most weeks that you kind of wanted to squeeze that extra running back in there a little bit. But I think 50% exposure to the running back was plenty on a week like this. So again, our first run with no adjustment hit a top 25 in the Millie Maker. I'd actually like to see what that would have done in some other contests, but it hit a top 25 in the Millie Maker. Good for a solid 2K win. Not bad at all, considering you did no work. You just ran the optimizer using the standard set of projections that we vetted out preseason. I do like the QB +1 with one bring back approach, although, for example, certain QBs this week, I would not have done that. For example, like a Mike White, I did not like the bring back options on the Bears, so I would have, and Bengal did, Sliderss did tell me he did this as well. He kind of set those up individually based on the quarterback. So let's see what the final was. Okay, so our second run got us to 208.66. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. A 208.66 again in the Millie Maker this week. Let's see, 213. Let's go. I wish I can just get the whole damn contest open here. I don't actually know how to do it on this. So you know what? I'm going to pull it open on my screen as well. But a 208 would have gotten us an even better score, and probably talking about a top 15 or so finish in this contest. So with just, let me just pull this up here on. There it is. All right, so I'm just going to open up DraftKings for the Millie Maker here, and let's go up to the top. See what that 208 would have gotten us. 208. There we go. Okay. It looks like about a 1,500. Actually, it looks like here, the 203. So let's get this number right. Actually, that's about, so there we go. That first lineup, the 200s to 203s were top 100. This 208, okay, this is much better. This 208 gets us about a top 30 lineup. Let's go back to it again and see exactly what the score is. 208.66. So that would bring us right about there with my boy JBC. What up, John? Sensational. What's up, my man? All right, so that would have taken us right up there and had a nice little profitable day, but nothing crazy. So let's see what we can do to take this up a notch and actually try to take down a tournament. Now, one of the names that really was prominent, now we got 30% Godwin here, but one of the prominent names in tourney winners this week was Zay Jones. DeAndre Carter, there it is. Herbert Carter. Let's see what went wrong here. It's a lot of Hayden Hurst, but Hayden Hurst was fine. It's a lot of Greg Dulcich. Gross, right? I think if we give one of my favorites this week, it's funny. Are we getting the full exposure to my boy Garrett Wilson? Yes. So the one player that was really the key to winning tournaments this week was Zay Jones. So what I'm going to do is pop a little bit of like onto Zay Jones, increase his exposure just a smidge, and then I'm going to reduce ownership cap to 100 and see if this helps get a little more unique with these lineups. So let's give it another run here. I'm going to see this. This may get better or worse. So what I just did now was I increased exposure just a smidge. I think it's a little bit of cheating with Zay Jones just to try to see where we can get to with him. A little bit of a cheat. And then I also reduced the max ownership from 110 down to 100. The winning Millie Maker lineups did have fairly low total exposures on the week. It was a week to avoid chalk for sure. And it's almost always a week to avoid chalk. What an incredible win. Yeah, it's almost always a week. So he had some Samaje Perine in there. James Conner, of course. Loved James Conner this week. T. Higgins, who we love this week. Foster Moreau at tight end was the key. So let's see what happened. Remember that touchdown he caught late? Man, that was such a difference maker. This was quite a crazy outcome. I really have to say it was nuts. Just watching what happened at the end of that game, I was just hoping for Devontae Adams personally, and it's just Moreau and Josh Jacobs. But one of the things I said on the Tournament Tactics show on Friday was how important it was that how focused the Raiders offense is. It almost always flows through Adams or Josh Jacobs. So having one or the other in most lineups was something that was an approach that I liked for the week. But unfortunately, like I said, for myself, the one that I pushed the heaviest was Adams because of that Q tag on Josh Jacobs, which scared me off the guy. I feel terrible about it now. Why am I getting this? So I'm going to uncheck Montgomery, who I had unchecked this week. That's ridiculous. Let's see who else I would unfriend here. Pierce was okay at that level. ETN, I did not like him. Why are we getting so little Jeff Wilson? So and very little James Conner. So part of this is the ownership cap, and that's really interesting that we're getting very little Wilson and Conner. It feels a little cheaty to me, so I'm going to give them likes to try to push them into some lineups here. But you could see at the 100% ownership cap, our final score has now gone up to 214%. That's not even with a Zay Jones lineup. It's just having lower ownership, which is really fascinating. I don't like all that Montgomery chalk, but the 214, again, now it puts us here in the top 12. So 214, where are we? 214 gets us right here, about a 5K win, and 12th place had we placed the run just like that. Again, we can continue to refine this. There's no reason for Wilson and Conner not to be in those lineups, so I gave him a little bump, and I'm going to run it again with those exact same settings. Again, I don't want more Wilson specifically because he failed, but feels cheat codey to not have them. I would never have ran and actually used lineups like this without either of those two guys. They were sort of in spectacular spots this week. And understand what happened with Jeff Wilson, by the way, this week. It's really important to understand that, listen, the team just absolutely smashed so hard in the first half that they just rested everyone. And, you know, it was Tua through for a couple of touchdowns. They just had it easy. And they just were like, we don't need Jeff Wilson in here anymore. Jeff Wilson was a great play. Anybody who says he wasn't is an idiot. They're up against Houston. Houston is the worst team against in the league versus the running back position. And that's just what they are. You know, the second worst team is the Chargers. So between Conner and Wilson Jr., they were in really elite matchups this week. And that's why we played them. And they were good plays. Again, did Wilson work out? No. So what? That's how DFS goes. And that's why in a Millie Maker contest, so for me in all my handcrafts, I use Wilson in every single one of those. Every single one of my handcrafts, I had Wilson and White. I started every lineup that way. Wilson and Rashad White, every lineup. And you know what? They cashed, and they did just fine. Because everybody played those guys. So, like, it didn't even hurt you in the type of contest that I like to focus on, which are the smaller, higher dollar contests. It didn't hurt you. It was fine. Didn't hurt you at all. All right, so let's see what we got here. Am I getting my Mike White exposure? Yeah, not really. Not where I want it. So I'm going to do a little something with him in a minute here. But let's see where we got. 218.04 on this run. So, I mean, listen, this is it. 218.04. Where'd we get to? I mean, that's not too bad. We're at 8th place now, $10,000. If we're looking at other contests, this is what's winning. All right, and the flea flicker, I wouldn't be surprised if that was enough. Let me take a look at the flea real quick. But I would imagine that this is pretty close to enough to have taken down the flea. Let's take a look here. Yeah, 222 was first place. So we would have been talking second or third place in the flea. Yeah, there's a 220, 218.64. So that is your third place in the flea. No worries, right? So with this run, we achieved essentially what is a top 12 in the Millie Maker. What was it again? top 8 in the Millie Maker for a 10K win, and top 3 in the flea. So not bad at all. And of course, now I want to cheat code it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get rid of this, and we're going to say QB with just one, and then QB Herbert with no less than one opposing team, and QP Geno. And the only reason I'm doing this is because I want to focus on, I want to see if I can actually beat the Millie Maker lineup by loading up on Mike White, who is my favorite quarterback going into the slate, or my favorite sort of low-owned guy. I love Mike White, Magic Mike, the whole deal. So I'm going to actually raise that up a little bit. The other guy I want to raise up a little bit here is Trevor Lawrence. So I'm going to go 20%, 20. I'm just going to raise up their projections to force these two guys. Now, of course, again, Justin Herbert was the nuts play, but one other player I'm going to give a boost to is Carter, because he was part of that nuts lineup. So I'm going to give DeAndre, I don't want to forget about DeAndre, a little boost here as well. And let's give it another run and see if we can hit an even better than the Millie Maker winning score by cheat coding this a little bit. But like I said, what really impressed me just now is just going by the basic sort of set of rules with no adjustments. We had a pretty good score, a 203. Some mild adjustment based on the players we liked. A little bit of that got us up to a 208. Another little, so another adjustment or 2, we got to 214, and with a little bit of cheat coding, we've already got to 218. So again, this is just an experiment to see what is repeatable, what is not, how much tinkering is required. We always talk about how much tinkering is required for the optimizer. Less is better, more is better. Depends who you ask, obviously. I think a little bit of tinkering is usually good, but too much probably tinkers you out of any chance of winning anything. So final kind of run here. Let's see where we get to. All right, this has got a little 215. So still hanging around in the upper echelon, but not quite hitting that Millie Maker winner. Let me just look at my exposures here. So I'm getting the full amount of Zay Jones, a lot of Palmer, a lot of Wilson, a lot of Godwin, DeAndre Carter. We got just enough. I love Treylon Burks this week, and I'm not getting nearly as much of that as I would have liked. Trenton Irwin is not somebody that I normally... Oh, I forgot to get rid of some of these players. I'm going to lower this randomization a little bit. And I forgot to actually get rid of some of these players. One of the things, the other moves that we do is just get rid of anybody projected under 4.5. It makes the optimizer run a little faster. I'm also going to go down to 25% running back into flex. I'm going to try one more approach here and see if we can get even closer to this nut. So that was a 215. See if we can get any closer. I think it's the tight end position, though, that's really burning us. Just got to hit that perfect lineup. It's amazing how with Sliderss run, he had 80% Jeff Wilson, but it was like the 20% non-Jeff Wilson lineups that got there. Who knew? I'm going to ask as well if he used an ownership cap after this. I wish I would have remembered to ask that before this breakdown. But as you can see, even a raw take 10 seconds, do nothing run, set a couple of simple rules, got us up in the top 100 of a Millie Maker, which is impressive. There are 300,000 to 400,000 entries in that thing. So getting up in the top 100 and having multiple lineups good for the top 100. I mean, that's what you want. That tells you when you're on the right track. And here we go. Oh, there we go. So here is your 231.5. I love to end it with this. So again, I made a couple little adjustments here or there, and especially the big one, and weirdly being I limited running back in the flex even more, but didn't seem to matter. And this is kind of the wackiness of this, right? So here's our 231.5, good enough to absolutely smash the Millie Maker win. Mike White to Garrett Wilson, Godwin in the lineup, Treylon Burks, Josh Jacobs down here goes to Panthers on defense just fine. Samaje Perine and James Conner and Josh Jacobs as the running back trio. There you have it, folks. a little bit of tinkering. I feel like not too much. We cheat coded Zay Jones. Zay Jones is not even in this lineup. This is pretty standard. He's not even in it. Didn't even need him. 231.5 Mike White to Garrett Wilson. Let's see how much Mike White we got in this run. And yeah, we got a lot of Mike White, and that's why this one worked out. By the way, we were all over Mike White. Mike White is on my sheet this week. Magic Mike, a Jets fan. I saw him last year. So this is not out of the realm of shit that could happen. Now, I stacked Mike White with 2, and Elijah Moore was fine. I think that still could have won. I think there were still paths. Let me see what. I think there were still paths to this win with Mike White plus 2. I will do that off screen, but I think if he wound up with, well, Elijah Moore had the good game, so great, and that would have been enough to do it. But let's see here, a 231.5 again easily wins the Millie Maker this week. It's not even a discussion. Unreal. My goodness, Sliderss. You talk about close second. You talk about a close second. I mean, 0.08 away from $1 million. Fuck this contest. Oh my gosh. The difference between first and second going down to 100K is crazy. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Congrats to Sliderss on this incredible takedown. Congrats to everybody who's part of DFS Army for having this incredible tool to help you achieve this sort of a thing. Sliderss used the domination station to get this really, really close second. You just watched me here on screen in real time without too much trouble. Use the domination station to actually beat that score. And we got a 231 and a 225. So we got 2 lineups and then a 220, and there's a 215, and there's more 215 and 214. So this run alone got us 5 or 6 lineups, all clustered in the top 20 or 30 on the Millie Maker. Super impressed. And I think the takeaway here is stick with the rules that we've come up with. The low ownership cap, 100 to 110. 3 uniques, flex, mostly wide receiver, even though, again, it's crazy, but these winning lineups, well, actually, yeah, a few of them have running backs in the flex. So I don't know, something about the magic of the whole thing. Remember to move all players kind of below 4.5 to 5 fantasy points in range when you use this tool. Disallow more than 1 pass catcher from the same team unless the QB is in that lineup. And that's pretty much it. 10% randomization, no worries there. It also makes it run faster. Always good to have a little bit of randomization on. And the only other thing we really did here was make a few little player adjustments, particularly to the quarterbacks that we wanted more exposure to on the week. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So, again, congrats on the 100K win. Congrats on your second big win, I think, of the recent season to Sliderss, because I'm pretty sure he had a big takedown on FanDuel a couple weeks ago. So kicking ass, taking names as usual. That's a review, guys. We'll be back, obviously, with all of the week 13 content. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content. If you like learning about DFS and how to play, instead of just the general generic stuff that you see, this is where you want to be. DFS Army teaches it. No one else shows you what settings to use on the optimizer. No one does this. This is what we do here because we want our members to win. And you see it in the results. It's not our staffers that we're showing wins of. They're winning too. Scotty and all, Bob and Bobby Wow almost took down a Millie Maker this week. But it's not just the staff. It's our members that are winning using our tools because we teach it. We back test together. We come up with these strategies together. And that combination really leads to just more winning. We also try to set reasonable expectations for our members. Remember, you just saw this video and it looks great, but understand that 90% of the time when you mass multi-enter a contest, you're going to lose. I'm going to show you that here as well. So if you just sort any sort of contest like this by number of rosters, here, I'm going to show you here. We'll go that last little detail. These are all the people who entered the flea flicker this week. And that's even a more profitable type of tournament in terms of being less top heavy than the Millie Maker. And you can see here that 90% of the people will lose. Here, just 3 profits, 1 against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 3 winners out of 12 on this screen. We'll just count them up. You get 100, right? So we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So in this case, 13 out of 100 profited. That's an 87% loss rate. So 7% of the people that entered the flea and put in 150 lost money. Let's take the next page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So on this screen, yeah, actually it passed the 150. So how many? 1, 2 out of 20. The point is about 90% of people who mass multi-enter are going to lose. So understand that going in. 90% of the time, you're going to lose money when you mass multi-enter a tournament. But every once in a while, if you take it down, that certainly makes up for it. And it did it for Sliderss here because he probably lost money entering this contest pretty much every time, except for this one where you make 100K. And that's how it goes. So again, let's wrap it up there. We will be back with all of the NFL Week 13 content. Stay here, tune into the channel. Make sure you're liked, subscribed, all of that good stuff. We got the first look videos coming out for FanDuel and DraftKings. Of course, the showdown breakdowns and everybody's favorite tournament tactics coming out on Friday. You've got to be subscribed to the channel. You got to like, you got to subscribe. You got to hit the notification bell. I will see you guys next time on another Millie Maker.